Thank you, Ryan. And thank you for being brave enough to make the move and join us here in North Carolina. Ryan moved here in January, just so you know. He's very quickly become comfortable here and found a home for him and his family, so we welcome him. And Chancellor Bierman, honored guests, welcome to the inaugural Future Reality Summit, which is a place for learning and sharing information across the state and with our friends in the industry. So as we move from a practical world to a digital one, it became more and more obvious that creating content and how to tell stories in this new landscape was becoming more and more important for our students, but also for you guys. So as we were approaching looking at how to move into this new world, I was struck by the fact that the games business, and we have one of the largest game platforms right in this state called Epic Games in North Carolina, how the industry was merging with the games world. And it became fairly obvious to me, actually maybe even as long as 13, 14 years ago, mostly because some guy at Sony kept coming up to me and saying, "We're going to beat you at the box office," and they have well surpassed us. But nonetheless, I was watching at Sundance, I was just watching their New Frontier section and starting to see the digitization being created, creating stories and really being able to do it in a way that film, traditional film, needed to embrace and to understand and to adopt. So about 3 years ago, and by the way, just so you know, we had started conversations with another engineering school to start having cross-disciplinary classes with engineers and filmmakers together, because that seemed to me the place that we needed to begin as an institution. Because we needed to not do each other's jobs, but understand one another's language, and that we both are creative in the process. And if we start creating together, we can do almost anything, rather than trying to apply some coding after the fact. So 3 years ago at Sundance, I had the honor of actually seeing something, and for some reason they allowed me to jump the line. I have no idea why, but I think it was kismet. And I got to sit in the D-Box chair. Michelle Paquette, who is from D-Box, is with us today. And I watched the Martian VR Experience. And it was the moment of clarity for me. And that moment of clarity led me to say, oh my goodness, if we don't do this now, we're going to miss the boat. And interestingly enough, we have in the audience Guy Primus, who's the CEO of VRC, who was the company that made the Martian VR Experience. We have Jackie Bombrook in the audience, who is one of the producers of the Martian VR Experience, and Ted Schulowitz, who was at that time at Fox, which made 20th Century Fox, which made the Martian VR Experience. So that's not ironic, yeah. Oh, and Yelena Rachiski's here too from Oculus, who I met at that time, and she's the executive producer and storyteller in this, and it was made on Oculus. And I believe it was on Unity. I don't know if Diana is here too. But that convergence of people, that's when the conversation really began for us. And here we are 3 years later, continuing that conversation. So a big portion of what we're trying to accomplish today is to keep this conversation going, because we are still just beginning to really sort out how to tell stories in a new immersive way without rejecting what the past is, but start looking towards what the future is going to offer. So that's where the start of Metal came. It became really obvious to me that we needed cross-disciplinary projects, education, and a knowledge center for North Carolina to start understanding how this kind of storytelling is not only going to affect entertainment, but also medicine and how we educate and how we sell things, and every vertical in our society will be affected by this technology. So the lab was created as the Knowledge Center for North Carolina, as the space for cross-disciplinary projects for all the faculty doing incredible work across the entire 17 institutions in the UNC system, as well as the private schools in the area, on projects we can bridge back to the industry itself, and as an incubator for the businesses around this content creation, to discover ways to educate, to heal, to create experiences, to transport people, to uplift Those are the things that we're trying to do with this new technology. And it is an important conversation to continue to have in this digitized, vaporized world that we're living in, because all of your work and the way you work is going to change, and we are here to be a part of that conversation with you. So because we're an art school, I'm actually going to do a very simple quote from Brian Eno that struck me this morning, which is, why am I doing this, and what difference does it make to the world? This is a very interesting question for an artist to ask oneself. I think that's a very interesting question for everyone in this room to ask oneself, and everyone in this room is an artist in one way or another, even if you don't identify yourself that way. So with that, I say thank you to all of you being here and continuing this conversation with us, because there is a long way to go. This is really the kickoff for Metal, so we appreciate you being a part of that. I want to personally thank my faculty and staff who have been incredibly supportive over these last 3 years, going, what is it you want to do? And Bob Keane in particular, because he's the one that's been bearing this flag and teaching the classes and making this happen for our students. I also want to thank the cabinet, Lindsay Bierman, Jim DeCristo, David Harrison. You guys have been incredible partners in this journey to make this happen. It is, without you, it would not be possible. Also, our Board of Trustees, in particular, Michael Tiemann is here. The board has been enormously supportive, and my Dean's Council, many of whom have actually supported this to exist, and of course the Keenan Institute. The Keenan Institute has been at our side in lots of different ways, especially Tom Keenan, so thanks to you guys too. And that leads to Mr. Bai, who's going to come up on stage. And so Kent Bai does a podcast, and he is often referred to as the voice of VR. And since May of 2014, he's been traveling all around the world, speaking to every aspect of individuals who are engaged in this conversation. And it's a wide range, a very wide range. I think you're up at, what, 1,000 now? So, and it's really, if you're interested, go and listen to his podcast, because there are some amazing interviews that he has on that. And he goes and he asks all the right questions, and he allows us, therefore, to listen. So it has been actually one of the places that I go to learn, to understand what we're trying to forge better. So thank you for that, Kent. And we could not wish for a better guide for today, because he's the one that's going to really be probing and asking these questions about how we exist in this digitized, decentralized, and immersive world. So thank you, Kent, and it's yours.